In my mind, he's a game changer. So Steve and Sian are going to take us through a digital qualitative case study on how empathy and participant self-learning drove openness and engagement on the most sensitive subjects. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Tina, for that wonderful introduction. I sound pretty cool, so I like that. That's good. So what we're going to be talking about today is on one level, it's about technology. On another level, it's about innovation. But on a deeper level, it's about empathy. And what I think when we think about innovation, I mean, we think about it's a new technology, it's a new method, it's a new product. That's, in our minds, that's innovation. And that's where the heart of it lies, in those things. But in reality, when we really think about it, those things are really just the final output of an innovation process. Those aren't in a sense, they're not innovations in themselves. They're the cumulative work of the process of bringing new things to bear. Now, when you think about innovation and you think about this process, you think about people in the lab, you think about people, the people who are creating that innovation and the process that they go through. And it is an important process, and obviously it doesn't happen without the people who do it. But ultimately, when it comes down to innovation, it's not necessarily always the technology that's at the center. The technology facilitates and enables, but what people need, people want, people themselves, the actual problem that we're solving, that's really the heart of innovation. That's where everything has to start for the innovation to actually, have meaning. So people are really, truly the center of innovation. And in order to really understand those needs and those wants and the things that impact people, impact them powerfully, and and the more powerfully you can impact people, the greater the innovation, the greater the time savings or the efficiency or the experience you can create, the more powerful. And in order to really understand what that means for people, you need to empathize with them. You need to be able to walk in their shoes. You need to really feel and understand what they're going through. And that helps you, as the person who's tasked with creating something new, gives you that passion, gives you that understanding, gives you that foundation to make that innovation happen. And that's where we're going to turn over to our case study.
Thank you, Steve. So the challenge that we faced was that we needed to talk with consumers that experience adult incontinence. So some of them tend to be older than others, but it's a very stigmatized kind of situation for them. Consumers are ashamed of wearing these products. They feel that they're broken. They feel that they're not sexy anymore. They're even ashamed of going to the store and standing in front of the shelf to make the selection. They go through a journey. And the key challenge was how we can connect with them in a relevant way to understand what they're facing. So we knew that the problem was big. We had the numbers. 1 in 3 experience adult incontinence between ages 18 and 75. But the problem gets worse as they age. If you see 70 plus, it's 1 out of 2 that experience adult incontinence. Also, they have a lot of product failure. 40% claim that they have an accident at least once per week. So the numbers are there, but we need to really put the emotion behind the numbers. It's what's the story behind these numbers so that we can create collective judgment within the team, with our managers, and we know how we can improve the lives of these consumers significantly by creating the right product experience. But we needed to understand that in the moment experience. We have learned that it's a journey as they go through the exploration of new products. They are familiar with menstrual products because they have used them since they were young. but this is a different thing, no? And the products are shelved in a separate part of the store. A lot of consumers do not know them. The stigma again, they feel that, oh, I'm not old, I don't want to get to this part of the aisle, I'm going to lose my femininity. So we need to really understand those instances. And also that moment of terror when they're like facing, I cough, I sneeze, and then I have like this problem. Is my product going to save me or help me or not, no? And we need to understand that. So that's where we were able to engage with Revelation. So back to you, Steve.
So the challenge, again, was how do you get in those moments? And these are moments that people aren't generally sharing. There's a private world that they live in. How do you get there and give them that ability to share and open up for a problem that's very real to them and very important and really impacting their lives, as we'll see, in really, really tough ways. And that's where digital qual is one of those techniques that really does get into that moment. So being able to have them on their mobile phone, on the web, however it happens to be, getting close to that moment where it's actually happening, getting that visceral sense of both what the event was and what the emotion was at that moment, it just really drives that sense of empathy. So how these projects tend to lay out, there's a study design, people are recruited in, and they go through a sequence of activities. So in this study, there was an ongoing diary that happened so that people could track the moment. And these studies tend to have activities that layer. So there's some activities that are really focused on behaviors. And the diaries are obviously very dedicated towards capturing behaviors. And then there's these more discrete one-time activities that get at other aspects of the experience. What's their inventory? What's their routines? What are their emotions around it? And that's what all these other activities do. So everything from a standard kind of warm-up and welcome to a letter-writing activity, on several different levels. And so going through this progression and choosing when to have people participating very privately and when to bring them together. Because in this case, as you'll see in a moment, that bringing together also was a very powerful part of the process in creating empathy, both within the participants, but especially within the team and the researchers.
So as Steve mentioned, we created a lot of activities for consumers to interact with each other to create this sense of community. We got letters of what was their ideal experience, what photographs, video of what they were experiencing at the right moment. No? And with all this, we were able to get more understanding of what are like the tensions and what are like the product desires that they had. Several participants were able to experiencing these 5 stages of grief. No, it's like denial, anger, bargaining, and finally acceptance or control. They are not in control. This lady was upset because she felt that she was too young to be experiencing these things. No, there's a cocooning effect that happens because if somebody invites them to go to a place, a restaurant or something, if they do not know where the restrooms are, they won't go, no? It's like if they're constantly going to the bathroom, they need to develop like these compensatory behaviors and habits to help them go through these problems. So there's like no spontaneity, and that's like a very important thing that we were able to get. Through the pictures, like as you have heard, like pictures talk about like they're better than 1,000 words. And several emotions that they were able to share, these were exactly some of the pictures that they used. So they're frustrated, no? It's like they're not in control. They're like trying to understand their body again, when this is happening, if it's getting worse or not, how they can control or prevent it. There's always in their mind, no? They cannot be spontaneous. They're feeling it. They're afraid that others might notice that they're wearing something, and that withdraws a little bit of their confidence and their femininity. This constant planning, no? It's almost that there need to be magicians to try to predict what is going to happen. There need to be ahead every step of the way. A lot of ladies buy 2 different outfits of the same color, and they keep one in the car in case they have an accident. They can go and they can change, they can come back, and nobody noticed anything. So it's very revealing and very empowering for us to be able to learn these emotions and what they're experiencing, because as we're creating a new product for them, it's so fulfilling, the life impact that we can make to these people. How we bring the stories to the team, to our managers, is also very important because we're creating a collective judgment. The compensatory behaviors that I was referring to give consumers a false sense of control. Sometimes they might think, oh, I need to be wearing like a pant because my needs are like very high, but I might have already voided or loaded like the product. I'm going to go to the store. It's just like 10 minutes or 15 minutes to the Walmart. I can wear a pad. Then they go there, they sneeze, and they have an accident. They need to run to the bathroom, and then they're like by themselves. They're like probably a little bit like wet on their clothes. So imagine that like a frustration, that sense of what they're experiencing. So they cannot be spontaneous. They're always like this constant planning. It's on the back of their heads. The older ladies that have grandkids, when they leave them, that additional pressure triggers like a bladder release, so they need to be extremely conscious of what their activities are going to be. We get also a lot of comments of, well, is this the right technology for consumers that are older? No? Do they interact with technology? Do they have like mobile phone or computers? It's like, yes, yes, and yes. No? It's, they interact with technology. They learn about this. There was like a lady that was 45 years old. And you know what? I was able to find my mobile phone app that you can spot the bathrooms and how clean the bathrooms are and which the closest bathroom to you. And it triggered a lot of conversation across the community. Oh, what's the name of the app? I want to download it. It's like perfect, great solution. And these were like ladies 68 years old or 75 years old that were like downloading these apps to interact with them. What was like most surprising was that consumers didn't feel that this was a survey or it was like a test. We created a sense of community with them. It's the first time for a lot of them that they're able to share what they're like feeling. They do not feel alone. They are like, a lot of the times, ladies won't even share this with their husbands. They do not share this with their physicians, their doctors, or with their close friends. With this, it was like these 25 ladies interacting for 2 weeks, learning about each other, sharing, creating this empathy, and the moderation was like also extremely good, and it was able to unveil like all this. When the 2 weeks ended, there was like, oh my God, I would love to continue interacting with you guys because it's therapy for me, you know? If we ask consumers what they want, what's like their ideal experience, they won't be able to tell us, no? And I was like telling you that imagine the experience of a lady when they need to go and wear what they perceive that it's a diaper. A diaper is the standard of excellence for absorbency, but also it's the standard of crap for femininity. So they want to get their femininity back. And what we were able to do is gather all this information, all these comments from these 25 ladies on what are like their desires, what is their ideal product experience. And we created inspirational design targets so that we can create prototypes spending like a wide breadth of experiences. So you see different, if we talk about like femininity and how they would like their panties to be, more underwear-like, there are different degrees of femininity that they're searching for. No? There's like the expressive femininity, the Victoria's Secret lingerie-like femininity, understated femininity. So we were able to get these inspirational design targets and create the right products for them to establish where do we want to go and what we want to do, what we need to do to create this holistic experience. But it's about creating empathy. It's about like walking in others' shoes. We're always in search for that magic number, that number that shows that we're like better than others. It's like, yes, but a lot of the times we just need to have this collective judgment. We need to really feel what consumers are feeling. And we want to empower women to live their life to their fullest. That's our objective. So when we're putting together this product, there's always like the question, this is too expensive. It's like we cannot do it. We do not know. We need to invent this process to make it. But everybody is aligned because we know what they're suffering, and we know that this is going to make a meaningful difference to them. So from empathy, there's like just passion. No? It grows for innovation. We just like want to really deliver a new step up experience for them, new products that they can rely on, and they can feel feminine again. The most powerful thing or sexy thing that a woman can wear is their confidence. So we're bringing their confidence back, and we're making them feel sexy again. So I don't know, I think that we have like a time for questions.
Does anybody have any questions?
Excuse me, you might have covered this. I'm sorry, I was a couple minutes late. But how did you recruit people to participate in the study with such a, private issue?
So we went through, generally the same traditional means. There's usually two ways we go about it. Either we'll use, traditional qual phone sample, or if we need to go broader, we'll bring an online sample. But we were able to successfully, working with some really fine recruiters, get the right people for this project.
Are there any more questions?
Is there a question down here?
Hi. You talked about a fine moderator that you referred to. Can you expand a little bit about what the moderator did to create empathy? Because what were the tricks? What was the tone? How often were the interactions that actually created that culture of empathy?
Yep.
Do you want to speak to it?
Yep. So there was like a moderator from Revelations that was getting in touch with them and trying to prove a little bit more every posting that they made. No, so it was giving that sense of, oh, you're being heard. Also, we had several team members that could ask like additional questions, and they can see what are we doing. We posted it as you guys are creating like the next product. And everything is so important for us to learn about. No, it's something that we do not know. We want to really help you, and that created like this element. But I think that the important element was when they start like seeing people going and commenting about like a posting that you made or a photograph that you have, or they were sharing like very personal stuff, and they were like giving suggestions. So that just like percolated in terms of more and more emotion being shared. I think that when we met with Revelation, when we established like all the activities that we wanted like to do through this 10-day, it was like very, very friendly and very helpful. And we even asked consumers to take photographs of their panty drawer to understand what type of variations in their ideal panty style they had and colors. And it was just like very, very neat kind of experience that just like you're creating the environment for that to happen, and it just happened.
Yeah, there's a number of dimensions to that. There's the actual design of the activities. So that very first activity is really important to set that stage. We tend to encourage that activity to have a video from the moderator so that they get a sense that there's a real person on the other side. When that first few responses come in, that there's an immediate reaction to those, a response to those, so they understand that this is going to be an engaging experience. And then the design of the activities themselves. So it's not just necessarily a set of questions, it's letter writing exercises, photo metaphors, things that get them not just sharing, but learning, exploring their own emotions, their own behaviors around it. And I always think when this research works best, it's when participants are actually in a position to be discovering things about themselves, and we're all just being able to share in that together. And that's when it's really powerful, and that happened on this project.
One last question. Yeah, I was just wondering, through this research process, obviously, it was for product design and sort of communication strategy. Was there anything surprising that came out of it, like with the communities, that turned into a new tactical idea or ways to communicate digitally, or anything unexpected that came out of the research learnings?
Well, there was the deeper understanding of how they were facing and that journey, that compensatory behavior that they go through, that element of openness, of somebody to hear them. So this element of community, creating that community aspect is important, and trying to break like that stigma so that they can feel more empowered. They're like so into their own kind of problem that a lot of them feel just depressed, and just being able for them to realize that there are like many others like them that are experiencing the same thing, that are going through that, giving them hope that, well, they know that it's going to get worse and worse as years pass, but they can have like some element of control. So I think that was like a very powerful thing, and through the inspiration of the tensions that we need to solve, when we created like the prototypes and the reactions to some of like those prototypes, that was like where the aha and the wow came in to identify these elements are like so critical for us to get. No, it's like this is an inspiration, and intuitively you kind of know what are like the problems that you need to be solved. But just like hearing the emotion there, it's so much powerful. So it brought like tangible kind of quantification to the tensions.
Great.
There was like a last question here.
Oh. Yeah, we have time for just real.
Perfect.
All right, great. Thank you very much.
Very good.